The Oklahoma Sooners pick up a 16-12 win over the Houston Cougars. They survived. We'll discuss on today's episode of Locked On Sooners Post-Game Live.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to post-game live edition of Locked On Sooners. The Oklahoma Sooners get the win 16-12, but as I'm sure you're feeling, I'm feeling this way as well. It doesn't feel like much of a win, and it was a performance by the Sooners that at times just inexplicable, really hard to explain exactly what went wrong, except I felt like there was poor communication on a lot of the quarterback wide receiver routes. I felt like there was undisciplined play a lot of the ways. And it just never felt like a team that, quote unquote, got off the bus. Like they were still kind of in the locker room for much of this game. And there was just so much that went on in this game that didn't go right for the Oklahoma Sooners. They got a couple breaks and they were able to hold on at the end to get the win. And ultimately that's what matters, but we're going to go through and we're going to give you our reaction to what happened on offense, give you our reaction to what happened on defense. In just a second, we'll bring Jay in as he is going to be eager to break this all down as well. But this was just an Oklahoma performance that just never really seemed to hit their stride, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they got the 2 touchdowns in the first half to Brennan Thompson after that gifted maybe a muff punt, maybe not a muff punt. There was not enough replay evidence to overturn it, so you can't go back and overturn that one. But it was it was a gift from the Houston Cougars and the Big 12 officials. And so you took it and you're able to score a touchdown and get in the end zone and get off to a really strong start. But offensively, you really weren't able to do a whole lot. You had one good drive offensively, an 8-play, 86-yard drive where you were able to, end that with a touchdown pass from Jackson Arnold to Jake Roberts. But that was about it. And that's where kind of the offense went to die. And we're going to go ahead and bring in our man Jay here to discuss what happened in this game. Jay, what's going on, man? What a game it was. Kind of hard to watch at times.
It was a 2-pack of horrible. That's what it was, right? It was awful. That was a bad game, right? I just came off 40 minutes of live of letting people just, vent and get it out their systems. I understand, right? I get it. I get why people were upset, and sometimes you got to get off the chest, right? Let everybody just speak their mind. But John, that was bad. It was bad from head to toe on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we were fine. Like that one touchdown we gave up, I think the only reason why we gave up and ended up allowing that busted play was because we were perturbed that interception was called a pass interference. When Woody Washington the entire time was watching the ball and both players were holding each other. What are we doing here? But hey, refs.
That defensive pass interference called against Woody was certainly questionable. The one touchdown they allowed, a complete coverage bust, right, completely. And so, if you want to take something positive away from this, that Oklahoma's defense played great in this one. And that's going to be something to kind of hang our hats on moving forward. But let's talk offensive football, because it was mentioned over here in the live chat that Jackson Arnold deep ball was not great. I want to say this. Yes, it was not good, especially from late in the second half through the rest of the game. He looked like he was just forcing it and didn't really even trust it. Early in the game, I felt like there was miscommunications on multiple routes between him and Brennan Thompson, where Brennan Thompson ran deep. Jackson Arnold threw a comeback. There was the one where it was a post, and maybe Jackson thought it was going to be more of a sluggo, and just completely off target. The balls to Zion Raggins in the second half just never really seemed justifiable. There was the interception to Deion Burks, and they highlighted that perfectly on the broadcast. Dion, man, you know better than that to round off your post route and try to go over the defender or try and round that off. And it led to the interception. And so while Jackson Arnold's ball was not great, I don't think he trusted it much in the second half. And there was a lot of miscommunications in the first.
Yeah, you noticed that. I mean, in the comment here about his deep ball, we saw him throw a perfectly deep pass that was right into the hands of J.J. Hester. He dropped him last week, right? This game, it didn't feel like they were really trying. Besides that deep drag route that we had that Brendan Thompson caught, right? And the beauty of it is that you saw him go through like 4 different progressions on that play, and then he decided to hit the dude as he was going, because that was basically the last one, right? As he was looking the safeties off, boom, he hit Brennan on that play where he burnt McCutcheon, which everyone got excited about because, everybody wanted to dust the former teammate, the former Oklahoma Sooner.
Right.
But there were so many, we had 6 3-and-outs in this game. Abysmal. It wasn't just play call. It's execution. It's top to bottom. Everything was just bad. And I know, I put it this way. If we were to go off of the knee-jerk reaction that all of us have had about how bad this was, we would need to get rid of the offensive coordinator, the quarterback, the running backs, the entire offensive line. Hell, we probably need to get rid of the entire offensive staff, right? Because that's how bad we played. It wasn't just one piece. It was everybody, right? Routes didn't look very crisp. Didn't seem like the blocking was there properly, especially at the second level, right? Usually your wide receivers are the one that blocks at the second level, so your running back can get deeper into the run. We weren't getting that. Whenever we were running a quick little play action, Jackson Arnold needs to do a better job of recognizing when they're giving us 9 yards of gap. The announcer said that. Look at where Deion Burks is. Look at where the defender is.
Yeah.
That is a gap of 7 yards. Hike, boom, fling it to him immediately and let him do work. He does very good in open space. Now, I understand the fear of you do that and you hesitate. That's a pick 6.
Right.
So it's why don't we just go ahead and boom, boom, bow? Or the one thing that we know Jackson Arnold has done a very good job of is changing routes. Change that to a quick slant. Yeah. The linebackers are not coming up. The linebackers were shifting till they could blitz, and you could tell it's a boom, 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 tap the hip, get his attention, boom, hut, bah, hit him right across the middle. He goes, boom, either hits the ground or he runs it.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where it felt like they were so concerned with getting the deep ball going. Jesse Bloom has this comment over here. He says it's because we were so predictable throwing only deep balls. I think after what happened last week where they didn't challenge Temple deep very much and they didn't open the playbook a little bit, they were trying to get things going down the field. Well, there just wasn't anything there. Credit to Houston's coverage because they were doing a really nice job in coverage, but there wasn't much there. And when it was there was a miscommunication somewhere, or a poor route somewhere, right, or a poorly thrown ball somewhere. So they just were never able to connect the dots that way. Now, listen, it's still early in the Seth Luttrell era. I'm not going to sit here and say we got to, change the play caller.
Fire everybody.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that on the show, especially. I do believe, though, there's cause for a little bit of concern. And
I agree.
You have to figure out what's going on with the running game that only averaged 2.6 yards per carry tonight against Houston.
2.6 yards per carry.
I understand that you've got offensive linemen out. I get that. But this is Oklahoma. You should be able to go to your 2 deep and still be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively than that. They only ran for 75 yards. I cannot wait for the news and notes or the notes from the Oklahoma Athletic Department if they're going to highlight the last time Oklahoma ran for less than 100 yards in a game. I don't know if it will. Somebody mentioned the John Blake era of Oklahoma football, Oklahoma offense. You might have to go back that far. Just nothing looked right about this team. There were a few times where I felt like, man, Javonte Barnes has got a little bit of burst. Get him the ball more. He looked good in space, catching the ball as well, but it just wasn't consistent enough. My man Josh Bates got the start at center. I thought he played solid. I think there's a lot of room for improvement there. And it just still looks like an offensive line that has a lot of work to do.
They do. So it sounds like the 3rd and 11 draw play was a Brent Venables special.
I'm okay with it.
Because they planned on going forward on 4th down anyway, in which that's how you got the offsides, which kind of was anticipated. Houston was antsy. They were running out of time. The game was getting away from them. Had an opportunity to pull up the upset. Yeah. Whew, buddy.
Well, I think what maybe they're asking about is the 3rd and 11 kind of closer to midfield, maybe, where after the Robert Spears-Jennings interception, you get the ball and you don't really move it. Is that the one? And then they kind of run a little dive or whatever. They don't really get much going, and they have to settle for a field goal. It's like
I think it was because his quote was he called the QB draw on 3rd and 11 in the 4th quarter because they were planning on going forward on 4th down.
Oh, gotcha,
which was the 4th down play where they went off sides because Houston was very antsy.
I cannot believe that they got Houston to jump on that. So shout out to Jackson
Arnold. I knew it.
And Josh
minute that they went forward on 4th, I'm like, these idiots are going to jump. Watch. And it's only because, like I said, because they were so antsy. They were so fearful of not having enough time. And it was like, guys, don't do that. Yeah, you're going to do it.
Yeah, just from a cohesiveness standpoint, Oklahoma's offense has just a lot of work to do. They've just got a lot of work to get on the same page on the route situation. They've got to get on the same page on what does this offense do well. Because we haven't really seen what they do well. They haven't been consistent. They've had one really good drive, I feel like, in 2 games, and that's the 8-play, 86 yards that ended with Jake Roberts catching the touchdown. That's about the only drive that I feel like they've had that's started deep in their own territory, and they actually had to drive the football. They didn't get a short field because of a turnover. So it's just a group that they got to figure out what's going on up front. They've got to get guys healthy. Got to get Nick Anderson back. I'm sorry, if you don't,
we need Nick and Andrell. We need both our wide receivers.
Both of them.
We need our veterans.
Yeah, they got to both be back. We're just not getting enough out of the wide receiver group right now.
Yeah, I feel like the chemistry isn't just there yet. With the sync isn't there with the other wide receivers, as they're also trying to find their own ways, right? Brennan was dealing with injuries going through most of the last season. When he did get healthy, he played well, in the Arizona game. He caught that deep pass against a solid Arizona defense. They had their defense was way better than what we played against so far. And then he had the concussion. He was out. So he's trying to get himself back going. JJ Hester hasn't played since 2022. That last game was his first game. Don't understand why we didn't just throw him out there again and test out that 4.4 speed and the 6'4 height, but I'm not the coach. I guess they felt like they wanted to test out Zion Ragin, one of the freshmen, which I enjoy. But this is the other thing too, John. This is the thing that I think that frustrates me the most, and I even saw this on defense. I get the fans' call for young players to play. Put this guy in. Put that guy in. But when you get results like this because young guys are playing, then what? What's next? Should we just start firing coaches? Because that's kind of what it is. Like Ragin was cool, but he's 5'9". He's not one of the better blockers. And you kind of noticed it, right? It was hard to even get him the ball. Mainly because the offense wasn't at the point where it's easy to get it to him in space. Like there was no way of getting him space because the defense was in a better spot. Granted, going into this game, we talked about this. Houston's defense was better than Temple's by far. Mm-hmm. They held UNLV to under 30 points, and UNLV always scores over 30 points and wins. They held them to under 30 points, and actually their offense only scored 20 because they got a pick 6.
Right.
Houston's defense isn't bad. The problem is we just didn't execute and get out there because they have size too. A lot of their corners are in the 5'11", 6'2" range. Safeties, 6 foot, 6'1". Like you saw the numbers. They were taller guys. We didn't do a good job of getting them the ball in space. That was where the issue lied. And it was a lot of hesitancy, not only in the run game of hesitating where we were cutting, to Jackson Arnold hesitating on throwing it to just the quick spot. Sometimes you got to just throw it quick and build up to that deep pass. Like you said before, build up to it. And we were not building to it.
Yeah, there was no progression of play calling. It was very just kind of, And some of that comes from you can't execute a simple, counter play. You can't execute a little inside zone, and it puts you behind the chains. Or you open the game with another little reverse toss to Deion Burks, and you get dropped for 6-yard loss. So, when you put yourself behind the 8 ball in a series, it's going to throw off everything else you want to do offensively off that script. So, yeah, we can belabor this, and we'll talk a lot about the offense throughout this week, especially as we get ready for Tulane, which is going to be a tough matchup. Not ready to talk about that one just yet. We got to talk about the performance of the defense, and we're going to go through some of your comments and some of your questions here on the show as well as we go through this Locked On Sooners postgame live, because you guys have a lot of comments, and I definitely want to respect your time and let you have the floor, and we'll respond to those coming up. But man, the defense, dude, look, I'm so excited to talk about the defense because it's the positive from this game.
Yeah.
As much as Houston was able to gain 318 total yards, as much as they were able to move the ball a little bit, Donovan Smith completed 86% of his passes.
86.
They were just 4 of 15 on third down, and they ran for just 1.7 yards per carry. So while Houston had a chance to win this one, it certainly wasn't on the offense, or it wasn't on the defense that Houston had a chance in this game.
John,
the defense held them to 12 points, which, hey, I predicted Oklahoma's defense would give up 13. So, hey, they did a little bit better than I expected.
John, say that again. Donovan Smith's completion percentage was what?
86%.
And we all know why, right?
It was a much, much better game plan than what they had a week ago.
They were just dumping the ball quickly. Yep. They weren't trying to go deep. They weren't even making any attempt at it. They were taking 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. They were taking everything they could, and they were turning it into more. That yak. Mm-hmm. Them yards after the catch, that yak. Yep. Not the Shannon Sharp yak, but the yak.
Right.
Was what was giving them those extra yards. They were taking advantage of that to get to that 9-yard average, right? They were quick. He was getting rid of it. He felt the pressure. He boom, 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 move, get rid of that thing. And we were giving them cushion.
Yep.
And I don't know why.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense why you would give them so much cushion. You had the one busted play as well that gave them a big, big chunk gain. But other than that, I mean, Oklahoma's defense, I thought, rallied to the football well. Brent Venables was a little bit critical of their tackling in the first half. I thought they were okay. I mean, obviously, it's never going to be good enough for Brent Venables, but I thought they were okay. They rallied to the football. They were hitting guys behind the line of scrimmage, or at the line of scrimmage. There was one play that I thought was just a beautiful picture of team defense. It was a little nice little outside zone play that Snead was trying to run, and Danny Stutsman kind of pops him first, or gets contained first on him.
Yes.
Tries to hit him. It doesn't quite get him. And so but there's like three more guys. Yeah, and there's like 3 more guys that are both containing on the outside, but also attacking the running back. So the team defense is really, really solid, man. From Dominic Williams, Jaden Jackson in the middle to the edge guys to the linebacker group. I thought that front 7 played really, really well today.
Yeah, they were getting all the pressure that you were looking for, right? They had that, but that was the thing, is that Donovan Smith was playing it smart. He was playing like he was a 5th-year senior. Yeah. Like, you could tell that he knew what to look for. Okay, they're going to probably, once the pressure comes in and he gets around me, if you can just get it around me enough, I'm going to step up and I'm going to lob it. And he kept doing that over and over and over. And I noticed we did not do much of a blitz package. And to that question about Kip Lewis, yeah, he got back in the game. We saw him at the end of the game tackling people. So he got better. He may have bruised his ribs, but no, you noticed that Donovan was getting rid of the ball really quickly. But overall, like you said, the defense was rallying around it. They did not let that run game do anything. 1.7 yards per carry. They were like, no, you will not run on us. You can dump the passes, but we also weren't blitzing much. That was the other thing that kind of bothered me. It felt like we were in a vanilla defense, just out there, we're just going to keep them in front of us, not allow anything deep, and go from there. The Robert Spears-Jennings pick was fantastic because he finally decided to just read the guy's eyes. Yeah. Right? Because Donovan Smith was staring down the dude he was going to throw it to. And it felt like we weren't even trying to jump the route. Like, it was, come on, guys. You see, he's literally doing like this the whole time, and then he throws it right to that guy. It's like, it's right there. Give me more. We should have had probably 2 more interceptions, if anything.
Yeah, I think there would have been a few more opportunities for some interceptions, but I thought they did a really good job, at least Houston did, of mixing up their play calling and creating a lot of misdirection so that Oklahoma never really knew what was coming, and they mixed up their formations. So, I mean, there were so many times tonight where I felt like Oklahoma's defense wasn't set. And on a lot of those situations, they still made the play that they needed to make. But there were enough times where the defense wasn't quite ready, and Houston was able to take advantage of it. And some of that comes from Houston, the way that they're running their offense, which I thought some of that was smart. The other part of it was, again, going back to what I said at the beginning of the show, I don't feel like this team came ready to play. And I don't know if that was a team mentality situation. Whatever it was, they were not locked in. Maybe they were just so geeked up by the new uniforms and the play like a champion today and all that jazz that they just kind of got, discombobulated from the get-go, but it just did not look like a team that was locked in.
The level of brutalness that I felt out of the lack of locked inness of this game was just atrocious. Like do I think that we're in trouble, John? No. Do you think we're in trouble?
I'm going to sleep on that one because I think there's reason to be concerned about where the offense is moving forward. I think there's reasons to be feeling pretty good about where the defense is. And I want to spend more time on that because I thought there were a lot of standout performances. Danny Stutsman with 15 tackles today. Dude came up huge. Oof. That's what you needed out of him, right? You needed a guy to lead your team, and he led them from start to finish. He was great. Dominic Williams came up with a big sack early in the game and had a tackle for loss. Grayson Halton's safety, like that dude just shot out of a cannon. Like that was a ball. They started on like the 5-yard line, and he met the running back at the goal line.
The minute he got the handoff, John,
that's the penetrating speed that Grayson Halton possesses that gets you so excited about his potential.
Yep.
The dude had 2 tackles for loss and the play of the game.
No, I agree. That was the one. That was the one.
Because that play takes it from Houston only needing a field goal to beat you to now needing a touchdown to beat you.
Yep.
Absolutely huge.
Changed the whole trajectory, especially since we missed the field goal, unfortunately. Now we know the kicker's name again, and everybody's talking about the kicker. Don't want to talk about the kicker.
Oh, sorry. Come on, man. What are you doing to us? We don't want to talk about
the kicker. We won't talk about the kicker. And we're not going to talk about the kicker. I'm not going to say his name. We're not going to talk about the kicker. Okay. But the defensive line they got a lot of pressure. I think if anything, if I was to critique the defensive line, just instant reaction, I'll rewatch it first thing in the morning and have a better thought. We got to get our hands up.
Yeah.
The D-line didn't get their hands up enough to knock down passes, at least jump to make it to where Donovan has to find a way to throw it around you. Mm-hmm. We didn't do a lot of that. We haven't done a lot of that this year. We did a lot more of that last year because, last year we saw a ton of max protect. So because everybody was basically double teamed or getting chipped, which would slow down, us getting to the backfield, everybody was throwing their hands up to deflect passes, which is a good thing. We didn't do that this game, right? You know what I did? Also, I noticed did we blitz Kendall Dobie at all in this game?
Man, I don't recall.
Did he even play much?
Well, Samuel Omasigo got a lot of run tonight, and he came through. He had 5 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He was really, really good. I think because Houston was trying to run a lot of the screen game, both the tunnel screen and the wide receiver screen, halfback screen, all that stuff. They were trying to run a lot of that misdirection. I think they wanted a little bit, maybe more size. So they maybe went with Omasigo. Now we'll see what Pro Football Focus has for the snap counts, but it's kind of my first impression is that Omasigo played more snaps than Dolby did. But we'll see where that kind of lands. But he played a really good game when getting an extended run.
Yeah. So I thought Omasigo was okay. And this is nothing against him, but on both sides of the ball, you could tell we played a lot of young players. And someone mentioned in the comments not too long ago about the sync and everybody being, connect. It looked like it. It looked like we were discombobulated. And it looked like we were playing a lot of young players. That's what happens when you play a lot of your young players, especially early, is that they're still trying to learn the speed of the game and learn each other's tendencies and stuff that you can't truly simulate in practice, right? I know BV says that you can simulate some like 2-minute, 2-minute warning or 2-minute drill type stuff. You can. But when you know what the plays are across the board, it's a lot easier to prepare for it. When you don't know it, you still got to figure out everybody else and how they're going to react to stuff. And it felt like we had a whole bunch of dudes out there trying to figure stuff out. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not a great sign for where we're headed, because you want to feel like going into this Tulane game that you've got things kind of figured out and put together. Well, the offensive line is not really figured out.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point in there about
backfield. I think Gentry Williams going down creates a little bit of a situation there. We're going to have to rely more on Kenai Walker. The Woody Washington was okay tonight, but I felt like he's played better in years past than he played today. A lot of the coverage stuff was a lot of due to misdirection, but guess what? You're going to see a lot of misdirection when you play Josh Heupel and Tennessee Volunteers. You're going to see a lot of misdirection with Kalen DeBoer and the Alabama Crimson Tide. I mean, we'll get
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. We'll talk about Texas at some point. You've got to figure some of those things out on defense. Otherwise, those gains that Houston was coming up with that were like 10, 15 yards might turn into 40 or 50 yards, down the road. So it's not like the defense had a perfect night, but it was a great night, I thought. And you needed your defense, which is the best part of your team, to come through, and they came through in a big, big way.
Same thing I've said before the season started, and as we've been going, defense is what's going to carry us. Like literally, this is literally what's going to do everything. SDR has a good point here. Maybe Willie Frisch just has our number. We have only beat his Tulane team by 5 too. That's a very good point. That's valid. Willie Fritz is a really good coach. We all know that. And we thought that he was just going to have a god-awful rebuild ahead of him, especially after losing to UNLV at home. But again, his defense kept them under 30, which is the weirdest thing. We held out a lot of players that I don't think they were all at the point of, I'm not able to play, right? Injured. Like, I know we have a lot of people that are hurting incapacities, but I don't think they're at the point where they cannot play. We held out a lot of people in this game, and next week we got to bring them out. Yeah,
the time for precaution is over. You got to get guys on the field that are going to be ready to go. And we talked about you miss Nick Anderson, you miss him a bunch. You've got to figure out your the health along your offensive line, like. Not having Branson Hickman out there, like I said, I thought Josh Bates played a solid game. I think he's got a lot of room to improve. But I think just that as the offensive line as a whole, because we got to figure out a run game. You've got to figure out a run game. You absolutely.
It's just like we did last year against SMU, right? Last year's SMU game was really brutal.
Yeah,
game 2, right?
It's a good point.
Game 2 was just as brutal, right? And it was one of those where we were still trying to be quote unquote vanilla and not show too much of our hands, which I think that's one thing that we're going to have to cut out going forward.
Yeah.
Right. As well. And I think starting next year, we'll have the same quarterbacks. So at that point, it makes no sense to just go vanilla and put nothing on tape. At that point, it's go out there and just blow people out. Right. The defense is going to have to continue to step up every single week. The good thing is we have the depth. We didn't see much Kobe McKenzie in this game. That's why I could tell we were playing young people, because I didn't see much Kobe. I didn't see much Lewis Carter, right? And when I noticed that, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? Yeah, the secondary, we kept the vets. Well, actually, you saw a lot of Jacoby out there, Johnson at corner, a lot, right? A mixture of him and Woody Washington. You threw a little Dez in there when Gentry went out. I think Gentry came back in, but then went right back out, and they left him out for the rest of the game. But you saw a lot of mixtures of young with Stutsman. Kip coming out hurt and going back, but he didn't play at first at the beginning. But you didn't see much Kobe. Yeah. We really did go with the youth movement, and I don't like that, John. I don't.
Yeah, the roster deployment is certainly questionable right now. And I'm not really sure what to make of it. I know that they're holding guys out that are questionable. They're not letting those guys play. But at some point, you got to get them on the field and you got to let them play. And you got to see, who's going to be a part of your run into the SEC. And you can't get game ready by not playing in games. Now, Branson Hickman's a veteran. He's been around the block a few times. He's got a lot of snaps under his belt. Maybe he doesn't need to play every single game to be ready to go. But the rest of it, I mean, Nick Anderson has one great season. I need him on the field. Like, if he's 75%, he's still better than what we've got, aside from Deion Burks right now. And you need somebody that can take a little bit of the pressure off of Deion Burks. So we got to get Nick Anderson on the field. Got to get Andrill up and running. I mean, I know he's cleared to go, but he's still, he's 11 months out from his initial ACL injury. Got to get him running and rolling.
He played last game, and he got some good snaps. McCullough, we need McCullough back out there. He's out of his boot, so it looks like he should be ready to play within the next week or two. We just need all of our bodies back. The thing about it is you don't need 100%, right? You just need some of the key bodies, right?
Right.
Like, I can be fine without Jaden Gibson and Jalil Farouk. It hurts. Give me Nick Anderson back. Let me get Andrew Anthony. I know y'all don't want to hear this. Play J.J. Hester. Go ahead and let the sides play, and then keep running the young guys go. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's go through some of these comments here, Jay. Neo Aguni says, if I was Coach V, I'd pull a Herb Brooks. You don't want to work during the game? Fine. We'll work now. Win sprints, goal line to the 50 and back. Again. That's from Miracle. Miracle on Ice. I don't know. Yeah. He would not pull that because he wouldn't do that to his players, but they're going to work. They're going to go to work this week.
Oh, yeah, they're going to go to work. You also want them to be, not overly fatigued. You want them not to be overly exhausted. Yep.
And Gavin had this to say about Jackson Arnold. He has an insane arm, but just isn't using it well. If he figures out, this offense is scary. He had plenty of time. I thought that the pass protection tonight was much better than it was last week.
Yeah. That's we saw him throw some beautiful passes, right? That pass to BT going across the field was amazing. That was perfect. The spin was beautiful. It was spot on. Mm-hmm. Give me more of that.
Yeah. He likes the over route, apparently.
A lot.
And you know what? Last year I thought he threw, the sideline 9, that go route, and I thought he threw the post route really, really well last year. He just didn't look very confident in his ball. I don't know. It didn't seem like there was a lot of wind in Norman tonight. So I don't know if that was affecting it or not, but man, it did not look right. We just talked about that one. Wait, yeah. Did we talk about that one? Gavin says it starts with Jackson Arnold. Let's be real. The line is bad, but they played noticeably better than last week, but Jackson Arnold played terrible. He needs to fix the accuracy and fast. I don't want to say he played okay, maybe he played bad. If you want to say he played terrible, I can't really fight you.
I don't think he played terrible. I think that he just needs to be quicker with his decisions.
Yeah.
Because he had some good throws. I think about the problem I'm seeing with most in the last 2 games and stuff is the bad things are so glaring that they blind out anything good that we've done. That's what I'm seeing out of all of this, right? Is that anything bad we do is just a shining light compared to the little bitty small pocket flashlight of good stuff that we've done. And Jackson has hit some nice throws. He's getting rid of the ball, right? Yeah. It's not even him going through his progressions. It's he's looking for the perfect spot to throw. And it's like, no, get that anticipation going. Lead your receiver. Throw your receiver open. Yep. Don't let him get open, right? And that's a young person thing. That's a true sophomore problem.
And he truly wasn't just letting it rip either. I felt like on the deep passes, he was just trying to throw it so perfectly. He wasn't throwing it at all. It's like a catcher with the yips. Jesse says, I think the real problem is Arnold is so afraid to fail. He needs to get his mind right. I mean, there's been so much talk about his interceptions from the Alamo Bowl that, the dude's probably in his head about it.
That's literally the only thing we heard about.
That's the only thing he was asked about. Everybody talked about it nonstop. We didn't talk about some of the great things he did. And here we are. Now we got a quarterback. Listen, I'm not going to say he completely lost his confidence because I thought he looked really, really good in the first half, aside from a couple miscommunication throws. But then the second half, again, I thought he looked visibly frustrated on the sidelines. And I didn't, and him and a lot of the team's body language I didn't love. But I felt like he was just he was pressing. You know what I mean? You see a guy pressing when he's trying to get himself out of a funk, and it's the Keanu Reeves from the Replacements, the quicksand thing. The more you try to dig out of the quicksand, the deeper you sink. So I think Jesse's kind of spot on, right? And he just needs to get his mind right. He needs to relax, take the plays that are there to take. And then when it's time to like unleash one, like just let it rip, man. Don't hesitate and just let it rip.
That's what he needs to do, but I don't know.
And then Mars brings up a really good point. Defense only giving up 1 touchdown through 2 games. That's pretty solid, man. And hey, 3 field goals, that's going to win you some football games. And I know people want to say it's just Houston. Like I've seen the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Gerald McCoy out there on social media already talking about like, you should blow out Houston. And yes, the expectation is you should blow out Houston, but
didn't we lose to Houston back in like our heyday with, just
Baker Mayfield. That's the year that they lost to Houston and lost to Ohio State. And then
at home.
Yeah. So like
Houston was a neutral site game though. So yeah.
Right. Down at Energy, neutral site.
Neutral site game, right? Like the things that we get lucky with, right? We all get a neutral site game in somebody's state up the street from their actual stadium. So anyway.
Right down the road in a bigger venue so that you can fit more Oklahoma fans. It's Willie Fritz is a good coach. Houston is a team that, hey, it gives teams fits. And remember, this is a team that almost upset Texas last year. So, and I talked about it earlier this week. I thought that they would be able to score some points. I didn't think that Oklahoma's offense would be held in check quite like they were. Lone Wolf says we're in trouble. Do you agree, Jay? Or do you want to save that for Monday's episode?
We'll save that and talk about that on Monday, but I'll give you a preview now. I don't think we're in trouble. Yeah.
Again, I've tried to withhold a whole lot of my opinion on this team until we see them play Tennessee. But let's just say the concern meter is risen a little bit. Gage says watching the Texas game and then this made me want to vomit. Not gonna lie, dude. I agree with you. It took everything in me to write nice things about the Texas Longhorns on the timeline today because I didn't want to do it. And then to follow it up with this performance, it was not great. Not a great game. Do you see any comments over there that you're interested in talking about, man?
Just ask the question, do we take the points going forward for that money? I mean,
taking the under on the points?
No, taking the taking
team
us
plus the points?
Yeah, the team points. Yeah, team plus the points. Probably should at this point, just
until they prove otherwise.
Yeah, until they prove otherwise. So I will gladly let y'all lose money on taking that to help us win. So I hope you put that juju out there.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah. Sorry for misleading you on taking Oklahoma minus the points this week.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a Texas fan in here. Let's let them chime in. He's not trying to ish on y'all. Y'all miss Levy. I know y'all disliked some of his calls, but dude had the number 5 offense for a reason. He had a really good offensive line with the first round NFL draft pick, playing right tackle, and 4 other guys that went to the league this year, and a dude that's starting for another SEC team. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That matters.
And I think the bigger one is that Dylan Gabriel can easily have a top 5 offense in back-to-back years when he's played in college football for 3 years before that. Right? It's pretty easy. Like, look at what he's doing in Oregon right now. In an offense that's built specifically for him. Yeah. Right? That's the one thing to think about. That offense at Oregon is built to work perfectly for way Dylan Gabriel's abilities is, which is get rid of the ball quickly. He ain't doing that very well right now. They're up now 27-20, so they should win this game. They probably won't cover, but for us, the big thing is we got to get our running game established. All these young running backs, somebody needs to take the lead and take over. Once that happens, I think we'll be fine. But until that happens, I don't care what what Jackson Arnold does, it's not going to work very well.
Did OU have any injuries today that will cause a player to miss next week's game? I don't think so. Gentry would be the only one that I'm concerned about. And that's because every week right now it seems like Gentry is potentially going to be questionable because of his shoulder issue.
Expect that for the rest of the year. He's going to play in most of the game, and then he's going to get a stinger, and he's going to come out the game, and he's done for the game. So he's going to play as long as the stinger isn't hurting him.
Yeah,
it feels like for this entire season, the shoulder's going to bother him.
Eric asks or says, Oklahoma plays bad every time they wear an alternate uniform. I don't know if it's every time, but I definitely had the thought that, man, we got some bad JoJo or mojo going with the Bud Wilkinson era throwbacks.
Well, so you know what happens in Bud Wilkinson era, right? They ran down your throat.
That's right. We didn't do that. But we played good defense like those 74, 75 teams did.
We did. We played good defense like that era defense. We just did not run the ball down anybody's throat like we're supposed to. We got to do better about that. We get the run game going, I think we'll be fine.
Jesse says, is it too late to go get Northern Illinois' offensive line? Hey, I mean, why not? You're gonna have to find some answers at some point. I'm not sure where those answers are going to come from, but you may not get them this year.
Right. All right. I think I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those games where we'll, spend a couple episodes Monday and Tuesday talking about it. We'll talk about what Brent Venables and the players had to say about everything that went on. But hey, and I know Oklahoma fans aren't going to want to hear this, but a win is a win.
Yeah. No one cares. You got to be dominant.
Yeah.
That's what they claim.
We're not going to apologize for winning. But a lot for them to work up. And I'm sure Brent Venables is going to be chewing some tails in the locker room after the game. And these guys are going to have to come out and show a lot more discipline because that was lacking, and a lot more understanding what they're trying to do offensively in the game.
Jay, Prime Time Vari makes a good point on the bold prediction. It's going to take Tatum to get the running game going. Hey, just give me a running back that gets the running game going, and I'm satisfied. At that point, I'm good.
Yeah. This guy asks, can you tell me how you're going to stop the wizard that is Sarkisian? I mean,
didn't we do that last year? Yeah, it's already been done. So we're good.
Over.
We're good, little buddy.
Yeah.
We're good.
I have no issues. I have no concerns about the defense. If I have any concerns about the offense, I'm hoping that they get a little bit squashed next week and we can go into SEC play feeling a little bit better. But hey, you know what? Auburn had a great week offensively last week and stunk it up this week against Cal. I mean, not much of a better program, I think, than Houston. So listen, there's some down college football fans across the country. I don't think anybody has expected us to be one of them. But lots to figure out. And we'll continue to dissect this game on Locked On Sooners. Make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcast. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John 9 Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all the social medias. Thanks for joining us tonight and being a part of the show. Thank you for all the comments in the comment section, both from Oklahoma fans and fans not from Oklahoma. We always appreciate you stopping by as well. But we're going to do it again. We'll be back for our Monday episode. Make sure you hit us up on the Locked On Sooners Insider program where you can share questions and have us answer your questions directly here on the show. We'll also chat with you about all kinds of stuff going on. That's at 405-817-6711. Text anything to 405-817-6711. You can get 2 weeks free to the Locked On Sooners Insider program. But that's going to do it. Until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll catch you then. Boomer.
Sooner.